Hey there, Lacey here with the Sweet Pea Chef. Welcome back. Today I have a highly requested video to share with you. I was talking about some breaded shrimp pasta that I had the other day in meal prep in my Instagram videos, and everybody was like, please show us how to make breaded shrimp. So ask and you shall receive, my friends. Today I'm going to show you how to bread shrimp without frying it, without any breadcrumbs, and it's going to be super tasty and very good for you and healthy. And we're making it in a sheet pan, and I'm going to show you how to meal prep it. It's going to be fabulous. All right, let's get started. Oh, and before I forget, go make sure to subscribe to my channel so you never miss my new weekly recipe videos, all sorts of healthy eating inspiration, and so we can be friends. Go do it right now. All right, so let's start by preheating our oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit and line a rimmed baking sheet with some parchment paper. Then set it aside. In addition to our breaded shrimp that we're making today, I'm also going to show you how to pair it with a meal because a lot of you are asking for serving recommendations for breaded shrimp. So I'm going to show you a really easy and delicious breaded shrimp marinara over pasta that you are not going to believe is healthy and it's meal prep. So it's pretty awesome. So to get our pasta cooking, go ahead and heat a deep stock pot over high heat and fill it up with water. We're going to have that come to a boil, and then we're going to add in our pasta. Go ahead and stir that around and let that cook for about 6 to 8 minutes until it is tender, but not fully mushy. We don't want it to be fully mushy because then when we reheat it later, it'll fall apart. So you kind of want it to have a little bit of bite to it still. Pasta nowadays is much easier to have healthy because there are a ton of brands that have much more unrefined ingredients in there. Just look for brands that have just like chickpeas or quinoa or brown rice as the single ingredient. For a lower carb option, you could always also use some zucchini noodles or some spaghetti noodles, and I have 2 videos that I've linked to show you how to make your own at home. Then you just go ahead and remove them from the heat, pour out the hot water, and then we want to rinse all of those noodles with some running water. This is going to allow us to remove any of that extra starch from the noodles, which will keep them from sticking later on as we meal prep. If you'd like, you could also toss them with a little bit of olive oil because this will really make sure they won't stick. So if you really hate pasta sticking together, adding a little bit of olive oil and tossing it together works great. Then just set those aside while we get everything else ready. Okay, so let's talk about breaded shrimp. Typically, breaded shrimp is covered in refined breadcrumbs and a ton of salt and then fried in unhealthy oils, making a relatively low-calorie shrimp very unhealthy and little pods of highly refined carbs and oils, which is no good. So instead, I bread my shrimp using a much healthier option, which is a combination of almond meal and some other very simple ingredients. Then we bake them in the oven and they become crispy, and they are just fabulous, and I could just eat them all day. So to make our breading in a large mixing bowl, we're going to combine some almond meal, also called almond flour, some shredded Parmesan cheese. If you are dairy-free, you could always replace the cheese with some nutritional yeast, or you could leave it out entirely. Some sea salt, ground black pepper, garlic powder, and dried oregano, and then stir this to combine. For your shrimp, try to find large or jumbo-sized shrimp, and it does not have to be fresh from your grocery store. It can be frozen. Oftentimes, shrimp actually arrives at grocery stores frozen and then they thaw and it looks like it's fresh shrimp, but you don't have to worry about that. I also pay a little bit extra per pound for shrimp to get the deveined and peeled shrimp. This saves a ton of time for me with meal prep and it's totally worth that extra money. However, if that's not the case, you can always just remove the peel and devein it yourself. So if you did get frozen shrimp, you're gonna wanna make sure it is thawed for this recipe starting now. And we're gonna get our shrimp and we're gonna rinse it completely well with some running water, and then we're gonna pat them dry. You don't want them super wet when we're gonna put the breading on because that'll get everything not as crispy later. Now grab a small handful of the shrimp and we're gonna add it to our almond meal mixture and kind of toss it all around. Then once it's fully coated, go ahead and knock off any excess, and then we're gonna transfer that on over into our prepared baking sheet. You wanna separate the shrimp a little bit on the baking sheet. It doesn't have to be completely separated. You don't want them just on top of each other because you want them to get a nice even layer of baking. But if they're touching each other just a little bit, that's fine. Also, a super helpful quick tip for breading anything is that you want to have one hand for the tossing in the breading and one hand for grabbing the shrimp. This also works for chicken or whatever you're using. That way the one hand always stays wet and the other hand does not have to get wet and then dry and then wet and then dry, and then you wind up with a mitt full of breading. When you have all of your shrimp all laid out on your parchment paper, you can sprinkle a little bit more shredded Parmesan cheese over the top. This is gonna allow a really nice, crispy, crunchy texture on the top. You don't have to do it. I think it's really tasty, but obviously if you are dairy-free, you could just skip this step. Also, if you are gonna be preparing this breaded shrimp for later, you could totally take the shrimp at this time and place it in the fridge for up to 8 to 10 hours, and then when you're ready to cook it, just go ahead and put it right into the oven at this point. Now place our shrimp into the oven. We're gonna bake for 8 to 10 minutes until the shrimp is no longer translucent, looks a little pink in color, and you can see that the almond meal crust is starting to be turned into a crust and is getting a little crispy. Also, what I like to do at this point is I turn the broiler on high for 1 to 2 minutes to really get everything nice and crispy and golden brown. And now you have delightful breaded shrimp that is healthy, and it's high in fiber, high in protein, high in healthy fats, all in your coating, rather than all that junk that normally comes along with breaded shrimp. If you're wanting to save these shrimp for later, they can freeze. What you should do though is you should allow everything to come to room temperature, then place the entire sheet pan in the freezer, allow all the shrimp to freeze thoroughly, and then you can gather them all up, put them in a reusable storage bag, and then you can freeze them for a longer time. Otherwise, if you want to enjoy your breaded shrimp right now or store it for later in our meal prep containers with our delicious pasta meal, go ahead and grab your noodles that we've been setting aside and divide it evenly into our meal prep containers. And yes, these meal prep containers are awesome. I am sure you agree. I have left the link for them in the description below, and you can also click them on the screen. They're awesome and they're perfect for meal prep. Over our noodles, we're gonna add about 1/4 cup of marinara sauce. And you should totally check out my roasted tomato sauce for a really easy, delicious tomato sauce that you could use in this recipe. I just shared the video just a little bit ago, and you should go check it out right now. If you do buy marinara sauce at the store, just look for ingredients that are very simple and don't contain any sugar. Whole Foods 365 is a great option if you're looking out for one. Then we're gonna top off with our breaded shrimp. I use about 6 to 8 per container. And then I like to garnish with a little bit of shredded Parmesan and some chopped Italian parsley. Then just go ahead and place the lid on your meal prep container, seal it tightly, and transfer it on into the fridge. This meal is gonna last in the fridge in your airtight container for about 4 to 6 days. Then when you're ready to eat, just go ahead and remove the lid and place it in the microwave, cook for about 2 minutes until everything's heated through, and you're gonna have delicious breaded shrimp marinara with pasta and all the goodness, and it's gonna be actually good for you. All right, so you asked for it and you got it. I hope you love this breaded shrimp as a new healthy, unrefined way to enjoy breaded shrimp and get that shrimp fix, because shrimp is delicious. This meal is so tasty and it's seriously on repeat in our house. We cannot get enough of it. Thanks so much for watching, and if you have any questions on substitutions that I didn't cover in the video, go ahead and share them in the comments below. I'll make sure to get your answer for you. And you can check out my meal prep playlist for tons more meal prep inspiration. And you know you want to go check out that roasted tomato sauce recipe too, because it is perfect in this meal. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.